Is the lovely Lulu A.
Oh my goodness. Hi, I'm Lulu and I'm an alcoholic. I'll just start off with the statistics so you can start judging now. I have a sobriety date. It's December 12th of 2000. I have a home group. It is the Gratitude Hour in Ellsville, Missouri. We meet on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. If you're ever in St. Louis or in the surrounding areas, please come join us. And I have a sponsor, the beautiful Marilyn S. And 3 things I was told to get and keep when I got here. And shout out to my posse up here up front. Whoop, whoop, yeah. I got Sochi, I got Ricky, I got Emma, I got Delilah, and I got Max. And I appreciate you guys coming and my friend Candace for showing up. And I just, I know a lot of people in this room. And if you're new, I want to welcome you to Alcoholics Anonymous. I hope you get a whole host of friends here. I know a lot of people in this room. I'm your fancy out-of-town speaker, which is funny because 4 months ago, I was a home group member. And I moved to St. Louis, Missouri. I want to thank John for asking me. I said, is it the end of your tenure? Because they may run you out of office after this evening. And I'm just grateful. I love Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful to be here. Yeah, thank you, Eddie and Cindy, for your talks. I mean, I've known Eddie for a long time, and Cindy, what a fantastic job you guys did. I could have just listened to you all night. It was just so good. And, you know, if you're new to Alcoholics Anonymous, if I tell you nothing else, I want to tell you that Alcoholics Anonymous works. And it works well, you know, because we may not have the same background and we may not have the same experience, but what I can tell you is the woman that stands before you today is not the woman who walked into Alcoholics Anonymous a little more than 24 years ago. And I'm originally from Chicago. Yeah. And I used to tack like I was from Chicago. And then we moved to California, and you guys made fun of me. So I stopped tacking like I was from Chicago. Because I just wanted to fit in with you, right? We moved to Bel Air, California. I know, like it sounds bougie, doesn't it? I know. It's not bougie. We were like the Bel Air hillbillies. And, you know, it was 1976. You guys were super cool. It was the surfer and the skater era. And you were wearing OP shorts and hang ten socks and Senor Lopez ponchos and Vans. And I was just wearing some really ugly plaid polyester pants. And I'm not cool. I'm always just short of being cool. And I sent my mom out to the mall to get me some Vans. And my mom came home with the Kinney version of Vans. See, old people are nodding, right? Young people don't know what that is, right? The Payless, like Payless, we don't have Payless in Walmart Vans, fake Vans. My mom got me fake Vans. And my mom was not the kind of mom who was like, oh, I'm so sorry I got you the fake Vans. Mom was like, I paid for those Vans. You go wear them every single day. And like, I'm smart, but I don't want to fit in with the smart kids, and I'm not pretty, so I don't fit in with the popular girls, and I'm not athletic, so I don't fit in with the jocks. But I found the stoners took me without an application. All right. Any stoners here? Any stoners? Raise your hand. You can always tell the stoners because the hands go up really slow. Yeah. Still got that brain damage. And, you know, we sat down and we smoked a little weed, and it didn't matter that I was wearing fake Vans anymore. And more importantly, that it didn't matter to you, it didn't matter to me. And I believe that's because I believe alcohol and other substances fix something in me that I don't believe they fix in everyone. You know, because I got to AA. I love this in AA. They would read, alcoholics drink primarily because they like the effect produced by alcohol. And I thought, duh. Like, how dumb are these people in AA? This is the silliest thing I've ever... They got to talk about that in every meeting, right? But I've been here a long time, and what I believe is I have a different effect produced by alcohol. And I believe that because I'm obsessed with people who are not alcoholics. I mean, I don't know about you guys, they fascinate me. Like, they are amazing. Go to the lunchroom at work and talk to these people about how they drink and how they live. It's amazing. And I, luckily, have one that's very close to my heart. My brother is not an alcoholic. And my brother is the weirdest dude I know. Like, I love my brother. But he is the most normal. I mean, you can't see it. I'm wearing a nice dress, but I got a few, colorful tattoos, maybe a little bit of the hair. And my brother is the most beige dude you've ever met in your life. I mean, seriously, he has like a beige house and a beige car. He lives in Arizona. He's got a beige lawn. Like, he's super beige. He's a school teacher in Arizona. Him and his wife are school teachers. He's been married to his wife for 25 years. I've been married 4 times. I can't get to 25 years. Like, that's so weird. He has a wine cellar in his house, right? So he keeps wine for like 10 years. It's just weird, right? I can't keep mouthwash in my house. And this dude is related to me, right? Same sperm, same eggs, same womb, same upbringing. My brother, and he's not an alcoholic, and he fascinates me. I mean, we have the weirdest conversations. We were at the Olive Garden. It is the favorite restaurant of beige guys everywhere. Oh, come on. And my brother and his wife, they weren't drinking. And I was like, dude, how come you guys aren't drinking? And my brother goes, oh, we're on Weight Watchers, and it's too many points. Right, you're my people, right? I'm like calculating the points in the alcohol. We can skip food and forget Weight Watchers because it's on like Donkey Kong. And this guy, he's so weird, right? And I love asking my brother about drinking, right? Because here's what my brother says. I say, dude, what happens to you when you drink? And my brother says this. He says, well, I have a drink, and I start to feel it. Good plan. Keep going. Yeah. He says, then I have a second drink, and I start to feel out of control, so I stop. What? Because I have my second drink, and I'm just starting to feel in control. I have my second drink, and on my way to the party, I know I can't drive anymore, so I've given away my keys. After my second drink, I am sure I can drive. My car, maybe an 18-wheeler. It depends on what you have. And that's a different effect produced by alcohol. Right? And what I can tell you is, like you hear all the stories here, right? I chase that into the gates of insanity and death. I'm a blackout drinker. Thank you, Eddie. Man, I am that girl. I used to call it losing time. I used to wear a t-shirt when I drank. It said 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor. I'm a funny alcoholic. And what happened for me was by the time I'm 17 years old, I stopped going to school because school starts really early in the morning. I'm not really a morning person. And I drop out of school, and in my house, you can't live in my house if you don't go to school, so I leave. And that's great because I could drink and use the other things just the way I want to do it. And by the time I'm 21 years old, I have the outside manifestations of a drug addiction. In those days, we were snorting a lot of cocaine. Wasn't really cool to smoke it yet. And so my nose has been cauterized a bunch of times. My gums are worn away, and I'm rewiring the vacuum cleaner at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's obvious I have a drug problem, right? And I decide that life is too much to bear. So I take 64 sleeping pills, 10 cold tablets. I wash it down with a bottle of Kahlua, and I put on a long white gown to die. Because I'm a drama queen, right? And you're going to feel terrible when you find my dead and rotting body. And luckily or unluckily, I'm a drunk dialer. And I called my mom. My mom's a therapist. I know. There's nothing more embarrassing than being put in a lockdown 72-hour hold in a lockdown psych ward put there by your Jewish mother. No, it's just embarrassing in front of the other psych ward patients. I mean, for God's sakes, it's where I like to date. And it didn't get any better when I got here. And in that psych ward, I didn't tell them about the drugs, I didn't tell them about the drinking. I told them I was depressed and I couldn't get out of bed. And they sent me to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. What I remember was a bunch of toothless old guys, probably about the age I am now. And these guys talked about how they had lost their family due to drinking, and they had lost their job due to drinking, and they had lost their home due to drinking. And I hadn't lost anything yet. And I'm not an alcoholic, and I'm not like them, and I'm not going to go to AA, and that's not my problem. Drugs are my problem. I'm not going to do drugs anymore. I got out of that psych ward with what the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about, self-knowledge, right? Drugs are my problem. I'm not going to do drugs. There's going to be no problem. And I met a man. It's a lot of my story. I've been married 4 times. It's a recurring theme. And he didn't do drugs, and that's perfect because I don't do drugs anymore, and we threw away my bong together. We're going to live happily ever after. And, I'm always trying to fix my insides by fixing my outsides. So that guy and I, we moved to Simi Valley, California, because drug addicts don't live in Simi Valley, California. We bought a house on a cul-de-sac because drug addicts don't live in a house on a cul-de-sac. And I started driving a station wagon because drug addicts definitely do not drive a station wagon. And I started listening to country music, right? Because drug addicts don't listen to country music. And nothing changes. And that guy and I got married, and I'm drinking. And, in that psych ward, they gave me medication. I do love medication. I love medication that says don't drink with this medication. Because it's going to be good if it's got a warning label. And I'm drinking and I'm taking pills, and this guy and I get married, and I have my beautiful son, and I'm not attached, and I'm a terrible mom. And I'm doing what I'm doing, and one day that guy leaves, and that's fine because I don't need him anymore anyways. And I meet a nice Al-Anon man who took care of me and my son for 1.5 years so we didn't die, and I'm super grateful. But one night I went out to the bar with my girlfriends, and I met him. You know him, right? Him, right? Locked eyes across a crowded room. He drinks like me. He's got a crystal meth problem, so he's sicker than me. It's fine, I'll fix him. I knew I was in love. He was wearing his work uniform, and it had a patch with his name on it, so I could remember his name throughout my whole blackout. And we went back to that Al-Anon guy's house, and we picked up my kid, and we picked up my stuff, and it was on, and we got married. We got married in our apartment because he was on house arrest. Oh, you've done that too, Nancy? I know. It's so embarrassing, right? And nothing goes better with a rented tuxedo than an ankle bracelet. And by this time, my parents have disowned me in an email because they're techno-savvy, right? And they said, we're not going to watch you die, and we're not going to watch you take our grandson with you. And my response to that is, I don't need you anyways. And I've lost my 3rd job that year. I've been hospitalized 4 times for drinking. And if you would have asked me if I was an alcoholic, I would have told you no. I would have told you the problem was baby daddy, the problem was the job, the problem was my parents, and it was definitely you. And I didn't come to Alcoholics Anonymous to get sober. I want to welcome you if you're new. I don't care why you're here. I love people who come to AA and they're like, I want to get sober. I don't want to stop drinking. I wanted the consequences of my drinking to stop. I don't want to stop drinking. That's a terrible idea. And I was backed into a corner one more time, and if you're new and you're backed into a corner one more time, I don't care why you're here. The magic of Alcoholics Anonymous has worked on me despite me. despite me. Because when I got here, I heard people say you have to be here for you and blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that. I don't care if you're here for your mom, your partner, your work, don't care. Stay here and you might discover something absolutely amazing. I came here kicking and screaming. I was back to Nocor one more time, and I went to this treatment center. I am the girl who brought all her drugs to treatment. I didn't really understand the whole thing. I knew it said Alcoholics Anonymous in the name. I was pretty sure you weren't going to let me drink anymore. But the nice guy unpacked my bags at the rehab, pulled out my Ziploc bag with 15 prescriptions in it, and he was like, "Oh, what's this?" I'm like, "Oh, those are my medications. They're prescribed by a doctor." And he said, "You have a lot of doctors." And I said, "I have a lot of ailments." And he said, "Some of them are in Puerto Rico." Oh, the internet was so much better back then. My FedEx man was my dope dealer. It was fantastic. And he was great, right? Because he knew I was ready to run out the front door of this treatment center. So he said, "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take them up front, and when you need them, you can come get them." And I thought, this place is so much better than the psych ward. And that night, they brought in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and you guys scare me to death. I have no idea how to deal with you. I have no social lubricant, and I went running up to that office, knocked on the door. Nice guy unpacked my bags, nowhere to be found. Woman opened the door. "What?" I said, "I need 2 Ativan, 2 Xanax, a Valium, a Vicodin, a Trazodone, a Wellbutrin, and a Prozac. Please. I'm having an anxiety attack." And she said, "You can't have that here." And I said, "No, you don't understand," right? Because that's the cry of the alcoholic, right? You don't understand. And she said, "Oh, yes, I do. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to hyperventilate, you're going to pass out on the floor, you're going to wake up, and you're going to be just fine." I know, and she was absolutely right. I was super mad. And I spent my first week in Alcoholics Anonymous watching your meetings from behind a sliding glass, like nurse's window in the treatment center, so I wouldn't hyperventilate and pass out in your meetings, because it's just disruptive, really. And they say, if you want what we have and you're willing to go to any lengths to get it. I didn't want what you had, and I wasn't willing to go to any lengths to get anything. I came here to hang out. And if you're new, I don't know what to tell you, man. I came here. I loved meetings. Meetings had my 3 favorite C's: cookies, coffee, convicts. I love meetings. You can use it as a dating service, right? Odds are good, goods are odd. Fishing off the family pier. And I told John before the meeting, I said, "Isn't your tenure done? Because you're going to be out of here, fishing off the pan." Like, who was it? I said something that offended somebody the last time I spoke here, and I thought, good, let's go for it again. And that's what the inventory process is for. And I like meetings, right? You told me to take commitments. I'd take commitments, or I'd look cute and be the center of attention. I'd jump up, I was your chip chick and your literature chick and all that good stuff. And you told me to work the steps. I'm not really a fan of action words, so I'm not working your steps. And I'm not working at a job, and I'm not working out at the gym, and I'm not doing it. And I hung out here in Alcoholics Anonymous. You told me to get a sponsor. I got a sponsor in name only because I'd talk to her. She'd tell me what to do. I can't stand authority figures. And you told me not to get in a relationship my first year, so I didn't. I got my first sober relationship at 1 year and a day. Yeah, followed the rules. I worked step none. I got no God and I got no sponsor, but we're going to meetings. And I figure we're going to be like that old sober couple in the corner. Like every clubhouse you go to has that old sober couple in the corner, and I don't know how they got there, but I'm sure it's just going to meetings, and that's what we're doing. And in 9 months, he was loaded in my house. All the money was gone, and he was walking out my front door. And for me, this causes a problem because I have alcoholism. And what I have at this point is 1 year and 9 months of completely untreated alcoholism. And my alcoholism demands treatment. It demands treatment with a spiritual solution, as outlined in our book, or Alcohol and Drugs. And so it was 8 days before my second sober birthday. That's 2 years without a drink or a drug if you're counting. And I had a plan. I was standing in my shower crying. I couldn't stop crying. And I was going to buy a gun so I could blow my head off on my second AA birthday. That's the best I got at 2 years without a drink. See, because I thought when I came to you that if I stopped drinking, things were going to get better. But when I stopped drinking without a sufficient substitute, things get much worse. And luckily, I had trained my feet in Alcoholics Anonymous. I hadn't trained my brain here yet. My feet took me out of that shower and took me to a meeting where some wonderful women grabbed me, women who care more about my life than my feelings. And if you're new, I hope someone cares more about your life than your feelings. And they said, you do some of what we do here. You don't do all of what we do here, and you're dying of alcoholism. And on that day, I was desperate and willing. And if you're new, I wish you desperation and willingness. Because if you're not, you won't do the things we do to stay here. And what I would love to tell you is, like, this is a story, where, and then I got actively sponsored, and I worked all the steps. And now everything is amazing, and I walk through the fields every day with Bill, Bob, and Jesus. I know. The people in the front are laughing the hardest, right? Because anybody who knows me knows that that's not the case, right? Life gets lifey here, right? I've done ugly stuff in the middle of this group. I have tripped and fallen on my face, and I pick myself up, and I dust myself off, and I stay here. And that's super important, kids. I cannot tell you. I got really busy in Alcoholics Anonymous doing everything you asked me to do. I only had one thing that I had a problem with. It was God. I'm not going to have your God. You kept talking about God. I come from a home with a punishing God. My mom was the kind of mom that you'd bang your knee on the coffee table. My mom would yell from the other room, God punishes. And I don't want that guy to know where I live. So I'm not praying to your God, and I'm not doing your thing, but I'm going to do everything else. And I got busy here, and I'm your GSR, and I'm your secretary, and as my friend Ricky likes to say, unfortunately, I was some people's sponsor, and I'm running around AA being busy. I know, sad. I made those amends, and I met a man in Alcoholics Anonymous, and we got married in a big AA wedding, 238 of our closest friends and family, and we bought a beautiful house, and I was driving a BMW, and 3.5 years sober, I got my kid back. It looked really good on the outside. The problem was I hadn't treated my alcoholism, and so I'm dying of untreated alcoholism. And at 8.5 years sober, I'm in these rooms, and I'm dying, and I can't tell you because my first drug of choice is what you think of me. And so I'm sitting in here pretending to be you, and I know you have something I don't have. And I started thinking, this is when Morgan Freeman's voice comes in and says, Lulu should not be thinking, right? And I'm 8.5 years sober, and I start thinking, I wonder if these people in AA are doing everything they say they're doing. Rigorous honesty is a super big bummer. And it started really simply with illegally downloading music, because I think I'm entitled. And then I thought it was okay to cheat on my taxes, because everybody cheats on their taxes. And then I thought it was okay to cheat on my husband. And I was doing shady stuff in and out of these rooms. But I'm sober, right? I'm stark, raving, sober. And luckily, the woman who came into my life, who was my sponsor for 13 years, came into my life, and she said, you're going to drink. And I was like, no. Don't you know who I think I am? And she said, you're the prom queen of the leper colony. Now what? You're popular in AA. Woohoo, head table at the mental hospital. She opened up that book and showed me where it said that if my motives didn't change and I continued to harm others, I was sure to drink. And I didn't believe her. And I was 10 years sober. 10 years sober. And I was standing in a bar in Las Vegas, Nevada, a bar I'd been in a bunch of times, and I had a thought. And that thought was, if I weren't an alcoholic, I wouldn't have to live up to this spiritual garbage. And I knew I was going to take a drink, because that woman had told me that everything I was doing was walking towards a drink or walking away from a drink, and not just in here with you, because I can be a spiritual beacon of light for 38 minutes. Sit next to me on the freeway. And I knew I was going to drink, right? And so I called that woman. I said, I'm going to drink. What do I do? And she said, well, it's a program of principles, and you don't have any. The first one being honesty, and the second one being humility. And I found out, man, when I got honest, humility soon took care of itself, right? Because when people in AA found out I had cheated on the nicest guy in AA, the guy who founded my old home group, you guys were terrible to me. People walk up to me at meetings and go, and walk away from me. which was great, right? Because you couldn't be my higher power for one more minute, right? It says in our literature that God couldn't would if he were sought. I had to go seek. It's an action word, right? And what happened for me is I lost everything that came between me and God. I lost that marriage. I lost that house. I totaled that pretty BMW texting because I was so important I couldn't miss that text. And everything that came between me and God went away. And I ended up in a guest house in someone's backyard seeking God. And having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. It says the because it's the only thing I get here. You know, you were talking about, I was just talking to a sponsee today about cash and prizes. I can tell you cash and prizes have come and cash and prizes have gone, and they've come again and they've gone. I'm a bad manager of cash and prizes, it seems, right? Who knew it was my fault? And but what I get is a God, and I get to give it to somebody else here, and that's it. And that gives me such a great life. You know, I married another guy. If you're looking at your scorecards, that is guy number 4. And he lived in another country. I thought it'd be better. Unfortunately, I brought me. And I moved to England. I thought there's AA in England. It's going to be great. Just in case you're wondering, they are a glum lot. And if you're English and you feel the need to come up to me afterwards and explain to me how they're not, I didn't move somewhere cool like London. I moved to like the Oklahoma of England. And not even like Oklahoma City, but like Enid, Oklahoma, right? Like cows, sheep, pubs, nothing. 8 people in meetings every time. No book, no steps and traditions on the wall, complaining about their day. It was miserable, and I thought I'd die there. And my sponsor just keeps saying, be the example of Alcoholics Anonymous that you know. And one day one woman showed up, and one day another woman showed up. And eventually I ended up sponsoring 17 women and taking them through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous the way my sponsor took me through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that was my purpose there. I also know that God knows me well. God could be like Charlton Heston, God, like robe and staffs, and come down and go, Lulu, I need you to do my work in this small town in the middle of England. I would have been like, I live in the valley, and I'm like super busy. So he sent me a cute guy with an English accent. Boom, I'm there, right? And in 2018, that experiment was over, and I went to come back to California, and I had lived in a place in the valley, the cool area of the valley called the NoHo Arts District for my first 14 years of sobriety. And when I came back, I know, it's a misnomer, there's lots of hoes. No, I live there, I know. And when I came back in 2018, it got real expensive, and couldn't afford to live there. I got offered a guest house in Northridge, California. Anybody know where Northridge is? We had an earthquake in 1994. There's a college there. I'm pretty sure nobody goes there. Northridge, like I'm so much cooler than Northridge. And my sponsor told me to shut up and take the guest house and be grateful. And I moved into this little guest house, and I was cruising along, and 2020 came along. Anyone else have a weird 2020? I had a little extra weird 2020. On January 19th of 2020, I had a stroke. I know, right? It must have been really traumatic. You can ask the girl with the purple hair in the front here. I don't remember any of it. Luckily, she and my sponsor acted quickly. They say get a good sponsor, they'll save your life. Mine did, and they got me to call 911. It's very time sensitive. You have 3 hours to get the shot that clears the clot out of your brain and saves your life. And they got the paramedics to show up at my house. They decided I was having a stroke, and they took me to Northridge Hospital, which is a mile from my house, and the only stroke center in the San Fernando Valley. Is it odd, or is it God? When they took me into that hospital, they diagnosed me with something called MRSA. I didn't really care. I was busy having a stroke. I was in ICU for 10 days. I got out of there. I lost my job and pretty much my career. A month later, they let me go. And on March 13th, you guys were all shutting down for COVID. We were going into lockdown, and I got really sick with MRSA. I had abscesses all over my body. I was septic, and I almost died for the second time that year. I was in and out of, they weren't even emergency rooms at the time. They had tents in the parking lots, if you remember, and guys were treating me in hazmat suits. And so I thought that would be the perfect time to get in a relationship. with a guy who was 25 years old, 4 months sober, and 5 days out of prison. Thank you. Good night. No, it's fine. I knew his mom from AA. We went into lockdown together. Everything's going to be great. By April, you guys were completely gone, right? We were in lockdown. You were in little squares on a little screen, and I was completely disconnected from you. By May, the MRSA attacked bones in my mouth. I needed major surgery to move bones from my mouth. And in June, that relationship ended in a hotel room in Las Vegas, Nevada, in violence. And my ass was falling off. And you know, when I was new, the old timers, they say the silliest things. If your ass is falling off, pick it up and put it in a bag and take it to a meeting. What? But I couldn't do any of that, right? Because you guys weren't there anymore. There's no meetings. There was no meetings, and I was at the lowest point, right? Because all the things I thought made me me were gone, right? The dude made me me. The job made me me. You guys made me me. It was a really hard time. And then I remembered there was a meeting in a park, this rogue, illegal meeting in a park. And you see, our literature says that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking than intensive work with another alcoholic. So I picked up my camping chair and my big book, and I went out to that park every day at noon and 6 because these treatment centers were coming with the vans, and these kids had no one to sponsor them because nobody, there were no women with any time in that park. And my sponsor said because, people with any sense were at home, following the law. And but my friend Bobby and I, we were out in that park every day. We sure were. And I was the crazy big book lady in the park. I grabbed them when they were coming off the vans. You want to go through the book? No, don't even tell the treatment center I'm your sponsor. Let's just do this thing, right? And we got through it, man. We absolutely got through it. I'm going to tell one of Marilyn's favorite stories tonight. I had gotten back to work. It was 2021. I was sitting at my desk one day, and I was messing around on Facebook, as I shouldn't have been doing at work. Hope my boss never hears this. And and somebody in this Facebook group said, there's this dog, and they're going to put this dog to sleep. Somebody go to the shelter and get this dog. And I worked 7 minutes from the Chatsworth shelter, and it was this dog named Gizmo, a 3-legged dog. And so I go down there being Captain Save-A-Dog, and I get there, and this little Asian guy in a little brown volunteer's uniform tells me, no, that dog's already been adopted. And I said, oh, good, because I really don't need a dog. And he said, well, there's other dogs. I was like, no. And he said, I have your dog. I was like, don't be weird, dude. And he goes, it's not in here. And we were in the small dog area, and I lived in a little guest house. I didn't have room for a big dog. And he said, I have your dog. And another little girl came in. I said, maybe it's her dog. And he said, nope, it's your dog. And he took me and this little girl in this other room, and it was the medical area. And this big puppy was licking the bars. And she goes, puppy! And he goes, that's her dog. I'm like, all right, Mr. Miyagi. Stop being cryptic. And he took me over to this cage, right? And there's this little black ball of fur curled up in the back of this cage, growling. And he says, this is your dog. And he said, she's terrified, and she's traumatized, and she's unsocialized. And I'm like, what are you trying to say, dude? I said, fine, I'll foster this dog. And he said, well, she's not available today. You have to come back tomorrow. I said, oh, now I have to work for a dog I don't even want, right? And at the time, it was right after COVID. You have to have an appointment. There were no appointments available. And he said, just keep calling. The next day, I'm calling, and I'm calling. I feel like an idiot. It's like for concert tickets, right? And at 2 p.m., this girl named Victoria answers the phone, and I called. And she said she didn't have any cancellations. And she said, somebody's already interested in this dog. And I said, it's me. I'm the idiot who's interested in the 5-pound violent chihuahua. And I talked to her for a minute, and she put me on hold, and she came back, and she said, "Are you really 7 minutes from the shelter?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "My 2 p.m. appointment came and left. They didn't find what they wanted. If you can be here in 15 minutes, you can have this dog." So now I'm racing in my sports car to get a dog I don't want. And I zoom over there, and this guy comes out, and he's got this dog, and he says, "She bites people, and they're going to put her to sleep, and that's why, they were going to put her down, because all the dogs are held to the same rules." And she was wrapped in a red towel, and those who know me know red is my color. And she's growling, and he handed me this dog, and I put her up against my chest, and she stopped growling. So I took in this dog, and what I did was I took that dog to the park every day to these meetings, right? And you guys loved on this dog. And you guys are so funny because you're not afraid of nothing. A 5-pound Chihuahua scares you not at all, right? Because you've been in a dope house with a pit bull. And this dog, they'd be like, "Is your dog nice?" And I'm like, "Nope." And they're like, "Good, give me the dog." And he was right. That dog turned out to be the love of my life. I love that dog so much, I cannot tell you. She and I just moved to St. Louis, Missouri together, and she is, she's now a 7-pound Chihuahua because the Midwest food had the same effect on both of us. I gained 12 pounds, she gained 2. On a 5-pound Chihuahua, it's not attractive. So when I went back to officially adopt her, I went to see this girl, Victoria, and I did what you guys taught me to do, right? I showed up with some flowers to be nice, and I thanked her for what she did, and she said she didn't even recognize this dog. And I explained to her the story about Mr. Miyagi, the nice guy who helped me, and she looked at me with this puzzled look. And she said, "We don't have anyone like that here." And I said, "No, a little Asian guy who's..." And she said, "We don't have anyone like that here." So if you're new, I want to welcome you to Alcoholics Anonymous. Because God can show up as a little Asian guy in a brown volunteer uniform at the shelter, and you will have absolutely no clue. I got sober at a place called Radford Hall. I know, the hippie ladies of Radford Hall. They were like, "If you want what we have and you want to go to any lengths to get it." No. I was riding my motorcycle. I'd just gotten out of the pawn shop. Yeah. Listening to metal, right? They're essential oil sniffing, crystal wearing hippie ladies, tie-dye. Ugh. But what these ladies were offering me was peace. See, what I got here in Alcoholics Anonymous was a God of my own understanding that can solve my problems, and what that gives me is peace. And was a peace that I didn't even want when I got here. And now that I have it, I wouldn't sell it to you for $1 million. But all you have to do is ask me, and I'll give it to you for free. So thank you.